Hi friends, welcome to another great night of RAs and GAs. We have so much to do tonight. There's a new missionary for us to learn about, a new verse that we're going to talk about, and we're going to learn about our Bible story tonight. Which, honestly, as I read it and I looked at it, it's really, really great. And it teaches us something really important that we can apply to our lives. So our new verse is Luke 10:41-42. It says, "Martha, Martha, the Lord answered, you are worried and upset about many things, but few things are needed. Really, only one thing is needed. Mary has chosen what is better, and it will not be taken away from her." And in tonight's story, we're going to get to see that verse play out. That's Jesus answering Martha, who's asking him something, and we're going to get to see how all of that, all the things before and after that happened, and why that verse is so important, and how we can apply that verse and that lesson that Jesus is going to teach Martha to our lives. So we've talked about World Crafts the past couple of weeks and about all the amazing things they do all around the world to help people meet their physical and spiritual needs. They equip people to earn a living so that they have a reliable income so they can pay for things like food and housing and, not just food for them but for their family. Tonight we're going to start learning about a couple new missionaries. These missionaries serve in Puerto Rico. It's a small island, and they serve there, and they plant churches, and their names are George Santiago and Rebecca Hernandez. And again, they plant churches all over that country, and what that means, and we've talked about this before, but planting churches is going to a place that needs a church. It's a location that is not being reached with the gospel, the good news of Jesus, and so they start a church there. They might find a few Christians that live in that area, but they don't have a place to go to church. And they bring them in and say, hey, we want to do this and we need your help. And so they start something really small, and they use those people, and those people bring their friends and bring other Christians maybe they know in their area. And that church grows. And then once that church is established and running well, they might use some of those people to go to another location and start another church. And they keep doing that over and over and over. And that happens all over, not just Puerto Rico, but even in the United States. Even in Oklahoma, there are places where people are planting churches. So we're going to learn a lot more about them in the next couple weeks, but tonight we're going to start with our Bible story. So we saw our verse, which is from that story. That's Luke chapter 10, and our story starts in verse 38. So Jesus was going from town to town to town, and he was really just doing incredible things. He was healing people of sicknesses that there were no cure for, that even today there's really not a cure for. People that could never walk could all of a sudden walk again. People who had never seen anything in their whole lives, he cured them of their blindness. And then he was teaching in such a way that when he was teaching in those towns, the entire town would want to come and listen to him because of the things he was saying and the news that he was sharing about how much God loved them and how he was going to provide a way for their sins to be forgiven. Well, one of those towns and one of those days when he was traveling, he visited a house, and that house had Mary and Martha's sisters. It's where they lived. And Martha was so excited to have Jesus because not everybody understood that Jesus was the Messiah, but I think Martha understood that Jesus was the one who had been sent to restore their relationship with God. And she was so excited that he, this special person, this one that she felt like was the Savior, was going to come into her home. And so she was doing all the things that really most of us do when we have special guests. She was cleaning and making sure everything was perfect. I'm sure you've done something similar when maybe you had family or friends come over, but she wanted it to be perfect for Jesus. And so she worked so hard. And even when he got there and his disciples got there, she kept working. She kept fixing everything, right? If they sat down and they moved a pillow, she would fix the pillow. If they want to take their shoes off, she would go put their shoes by the door. She wanted it to be perfect. And so she was preparing food and doing all of these things. And while she was so busy, she noticed something. She noticed that her sister Mary was just sitting there next to Jesus. He was teaching the disciples and Mary, and she was listening. And Martha began to get frustrated. Now, I want you to think about maybe a time that you were cleaning the house or you were getting ready for something and your whole family was working hard to prepare for that. And maybe you saw your brother and sister and they weren't working or they weren't doing what they were supposed to be doing. Did that frustrate you? Maybe that's never happened, but imagine if it did. Would you be frustrated with your brother or sister if you noticed that you were working so hard to make this special day as special as possible, but they weren't doing anything? Well, Martha felt that way. She felt frustrated. She saw that Mary was just sitting there next to Jesus and was like, man, I would like to sit next to Jesus, but I'm working. I'm doing all these things that are needed, that have to be done. And so she went to Jesus. And she said, Jesus, Mary's not doing anything. Get on to her. Tell her to stand up and help me. Like, I'm working so hard. And of course, our verse is what he responds with. And so I want to take a second, and I have our Bible verse video. And so we're going to just watch that real quick. And just so you can see and read that verse and understand what Jesus said to Martha. And we'll finish our story after that. Welcome back from our Bible verse video, and that is exactly what Jesus said to Martha. You know, sometimes I think we get so busy. We try to do things that we know are good. Nothing Martha did was bad. She wanted that day to be special. She wanted Jesus to feel special, to feel the love by the actions that she was doing. But sometimes, instead of all the things that we could do to make things feel special, all we need to do is just sit down and spend time with people, to build a relationship, and in this instance, to build that relationship with Jesus. And he says, you know, Mary made the right choice. I'm not going to get onto her because she was building that relationship with me. She is doing the right thing. She's doing something that will last forever. You know, when we think about friendships and relationships on our earth, those are really important so that we can share Jesus with them, so that we can bring the good news of Jesus to those people, so that we spend time with them and build that relationship. But when we talk about Jesus, the importance of that relationship is eternal. Building that relationship is the most important thing we can do on this earth. And sometimes we get so busy with all of the things that we think are needed to do that. You know, learning all the Bible stories we possibly can, coming to church every time we possibly can, and we get so busy, even though those are good things we should do, if we don't do them right, if we don't do them in the way to just build a relationship with Jesus, sometimes they can just turn into busy work. And that's what, you know, Martha was in the presence of Jesus, but she turned it into busy work. And that's what he was pointing out to her, that she needed to take a step back and make sure that she was there to build the relationship with him, and not just do all these little things that she thought were important. They weren't needed. And you know, as I read that lesson, I thought there are so many things in our lives we do that we think, and sometimes they are good things, but sometimes we just need to slow down and make sure we're building that relationship with Jesus and not worried about all the little things that we think have to be perfect. No, Jesus didn't care about the food or the way the pillows looked on the couch or the shoes that were on the floor. He didn't care. He just wanted to spend time with them, and he wanted them to spend time with him. And I know that we can't necessarily just go to a home or have Jesus just come into our house, but when we follow Jesus, he gives us the Holy Spirit. God is with us, and we can take time to build that relationship with Jesus today, tomorrow, every day, because we know one day when we're in heaven, from those who have made Jesus their Lord and Savior in heaven, that relationship, it doesn't start then. It starts now. And so sometimes we just need to slow down and not try to make ourselves so busy with things that we forget the importance of what is really needed. And that is just to build a relationship with Jesus. You know, I really had a lot of fun learning that. And again, that lesson is incredible. That idea that Jesus taught Martha is amazing. And it's something that's not easy to do, to really just focus on that relationship and not necessarily care that everything is perfect. But I think that it really is the most important thing. It's what's needed. So I hope you have a great rest of your week. I hope you think about that and think about how you can build your relationship with Jesus starting today. And if you ever have any questions about maybe, I haven't even began that relationship. I haven't asked him to be my Lord and Savior. If you ever have those questions, I know you can talk to your mom and dad, and of course you can always talk to me about that too. I hope you have a great rest of your week. I can't wait to see you again soon. Bye, everyone.